Hello, Hoovian, and welcome back to the third channel. Yes, we're back on the third channel now. Slight admin, I I didn't notice this before, but if you do notice my jacket's slightly different, if you do notice, I didn't know it wasn't black. So if you notice, well done you. You're more clever than me because this is actually blue apparently. I don't make the rules of what's supposed to look like what color, but it's a new jacket, so that's if you were paying attention, or if you're making a pie chart of all the different jackets I've worn, then this is slightly different. But as you can tell, we are back doing another wonderful interview. I haven't yet swallowed that dictionary, so I haven't found another word to beat wonderful or amazing or out of this world. Well, you can't go out of this world unless you're in a spaceship. But today we're here with a very special guest. She is best known as one of the editors to Scotland's greatest soap opera, River City. It's the one and only Imara.
Hello.
So we'll start at the very beginning because it's always a good place to start. Julie Andrews
Mhm.
once said, she never said it again. How did you get into editing in the first place?
Well, if we want to go back to the very beginning, then I would say it was when I was watching a friend's DVD back when we were always watching DVDs and there was extras back when there was extras on DVDs. And one of the extras was actually an insight into the editing room. And that's obviously a multi-camera show. So I can't remember how many cameras they had, but maybe six or even nine. And the editor was showing how he decides which shot should come, before, which after, how he decides whose reaction to choose. And I just thought it was so fascinating that was like all in his power. Um, and I thought it just looked like such a fun sort of puzzle to solve. Like that's what it is to me, just a puzzle that's endlessly fun. And I guess the spark came from that. And then I studied film and media in uni, and that sort of continued it. And that was a real general overview into the whole industry. But so you got a little taste of, I don't know, directing, production managing, all this kind of stuff. But I really knew through all that that editing was still the thing that was most interesting to me. So I left uni thinking, okay, that's definitely the way I want to go. And then a couple of years later, I got offered to do some cover work in River City, and it all began from there, I guess.
And what was it actually like working on River City? Because it's a different type of program to most programs.
Yeah, it's a funny one. It's so like they've got it down to an absolute T. It's like this glorious machine that just functions, and everyone sort of knows their place and their speciality. They're part of being that machine, because they have so much to like so much content that they need to put out. Um, so yeah, it's just good fun. It's always moving. It's fast paced, but everyone knows each other well. It's sort of like a family, I would say there. Even though there's always new talent coming through, they're always welcomed, and you just get the impression there that everyone's sort of trying to. At least this is my experience. I've always felt really, really supported there, and that when I first joined, I started off in the production office as a production runner, but I was sneaking through to post production, every now and then and just seeing what was happening in there and looking at their sort of process of taking the footage, ingesting it into the system, organizing it for the editors. And yeah, I kind of thought, yeah, this is really where I want to be. And I already kind of knew that. And they were very supportive of me essentially ditching the production office for post production, and trying to sort of pursue the thing that I really wanted. I didn't really have any pushback or anything like that. Even though, if I remember correctly, it was midway through one of the seasons. So they were very, very kind to allow me to pursue that instead.
And And because River City is like most soap operas are a movie machine, you have to get everything out quickly. When you sat and watched the episodes you had edited, did you watch it with enjoyment just because you wanted to watch the program, or did you watch it thinking, "Oh, I know where some errors are," and you notice more of where you've gone wrong?
Yeah, oh, that's actually a really good question. When you watch your, I guess you would call it, I don't even want to call it the rough cut because when you're cutting a block of River City, so a block is 4 episodes, 30 minutes each. And when you watch your first cut through, it has to, it can't be too rough because you just don't have the time to do like such a rough, usually you do a rough cut, you put it all together, and then you fine cut it, you get it, maybe shorter and shorter and just sort of snappier and you fix your rhythm and everything like that. But on River City, there's just not really the time. So when you're first cutting the scenes, you have to cut them with the fine cut in mind. You have to really sort of trust your instincts, just try and make good decisions and say, okay, I might not get the opportunity to change this again. So I'm just going to do the best that I can. So when you're watching it the first time through, before the director joins you, um, basically I just watch it through and take notes on all the bits that I want to fix. Unfortunately, usually there's not the time to fix them before the director comes in, but then during that time, you just grab moments here and there to make your own little fixes along with the directors. And so, yeah, you have to be really, really careful with managing your time, I would say. It's a good test.
And when you came to work on Riveted, were you already a fan of the show? As in, like, did you already know like what was happening in the show at that time, so that you had more of an eye on what was going on rather than just editing it as a job?
When I came onto River City, so I started off in the production office and then moved into post-production as an assistant. So I didn't have at that time any great knowledge of the show. Obviously, the more that you work on it, you build up your knowledge of all the storylines, all the characters and their histories and rivalries and whatnot. So that came with time, I suppose. And then of course you start to have your favorite characters and the relationships that you sort of root for and the baddies and everything like that. So it's good fun. And even sometimes when you find out a storyline that's coming up later on, you are genuinely sort of shocked by it. And I still experience that sometimes when I go back and ask what's coming up because you need some context for the episodes that you're editing.
Yeah.
Is if something's going to happen down the line, it might be really important for you to know that so that it can maybe inform the decisions that you make in your episodes. And yeah, sometimes I get told stuff that is still like shocking to me. You get fun surprises on there, and that's what the fans love as well.
Yeah. And what are the other programs you've worked on that's in the same region of great Scottish the great Scottish writing, because the program's based off amazing books. The program is still building up the fan base, so I can't say the program's amazing just yet because it's still building up because it's going to get a second series soon. But what was it like being the assistant editor on? And I'm gonna probably say it incorrectly, but hey ho, on Karen. Right, I'm gonna
Karen Perry.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was fantastic. I have to say that was my first venture into sort of high-end telly, and it was just so much fun. The team was really, really good. The post house that I got to work in, I've been there back there many times, Blazing Griffin. They're just the most fantastic professional team. Um, they really, really helped me develop a sort of high-end workflow because it was completely different from River City in that way. Like, because River City constantly had stuff going through it, you had to establish a really, really quick workflow. And for example, you don't need to sync when you're assisting in River City, you don't need to sync camera and sound. That's already done during the production. So that is a massive time saver and really helps. But when you're in high-end telly, you usually have to sync, and with most things, to be honest, you have to sync up the camera and the sound, which takes a while, it takes up a good chunk of your day. But it's also a really, really good way to get to know the footage because you have to physically watch everything and make sure that it's, in sync. So I got to know the footage really well, and the acting talent on there was just fantastic. The editors that I worked with, they were brilliant. Um, yeah, I had such a good time on it. I have to say, it was lots and lots of new experiences, but everyone was very patient with me, very happy to sort of teach me, and making a couple of mistakes along the way is par for the course. But as long as you're not wiping footage from any camera cards, then you're good. And even if you did, there's backups and everything as well. But yeah, no, I had great fun, and I think the whole team was so happy with how it came out, and everyone's reaction to it as well. It got such a positive reaction. So yeah, we were all thrilled, I have to say.
And do you think that because you've been doing this for such a long time, do you reckon that you every time you do a new show or a new project, do you reckon that your skills as an editor has improved over time, or do you reckon that you're staying on the same playing field?
Yeah, I would hopefully say that it's improving every time. I think, no two jobs are the same. You learn something from every single job. Even cutting blocks of River City, because you have a different director every time. You're still learning something new, even though it's the same show. So yeah, there's different challenges on every one. Yeah, I would want to say that I improve every time, and even like all of my years and jobs of assisting has also helped me so much as an editor. First of all, you know what's most important to your assistants, but yeah, you also just know better how things flow, how things function, or maybe how long it's going to take for some footage to reach you. If it's a big sequence, then it's going to be more difficult for the assistants to sort of think or process, and you can sort of make time estimates on when that might come through and then adjust your schedule accordingly. Like even little things like that, scheduling your day, or just what what kind of scenes you might need to designate more time to cutting. um yeah, that's all sort of informed by past jobs and past experiences. Yeah, that's what shapes that, I would say.
And for anyone that's watching this that are thinking about getting into editing or getting into or in that world of work, what advice would you give someone that wants to do editing or wants to work in that area of not just anyone else like assistant editing or working with other editors?
Yeah, so the best place to start for that is definitely post-production houses. Um, to get in there as a runner is usually sort of a good base. That doesn't mean that you get to start, assisting or cutting on anything right away, but what it does give you is an insight into how the entire place functions. And you just, yeah, right off the bat, you can make some really, really good connections in the industry, meet editors, colorists, sound mixers. You might find out that you want to go into a different department, like into grading or something. And you only know that just by talking to people, seeing how they work, seeing if it looks any fun for you. And yeah, the connections is really, it's such an important thing, and it's such a tough thing to start building. Um, and I think the post community is so lovely. They're also just happy to have like a chat. Like there was so many places that said to me, "Okay, we don't have any jobs available, but come in, have a coffee with us. We'll maybe we'll take you around, show you a couple of the edit suites, and you can just get an insight into how it works." And it's sort of win-win because you get to meet more people, see how a post-production house functions, and also they have someone potentially on their roster for if a place becomes available in future. They have maybe a list of names, and they say, okay, we've already met, her or him, um, and yeah, we will bring them back in and have a chat again. So it's, yeah, that's always a really, really nice thing. because I think so many people in post-production, they're really in it for the love of the craft. That's the impression that I've got over the years is I don't know, no one in post I think is in it for like the flashiness or anything of like the film or TV industry. They're really in it because they love it. They love cutting. They love, solving the puzzle. And yeah, it's fun and satisfying. And I think then that translates into how they support other people getting into the industry because everyone shares that great love for film.
Yeah, and because you've worked on a wide variety of different programs, do you reckon that when you look at because you've worked on shows such as Outlander, do you reckon that it's the editing style between British and because Outlander mainly focused for American, but American TV, do you reckon that the editing's slightly more different, or do you reckon it's more roughly the same as when you're editing on a British program?
Oh, that's also a really good question. And one which I maybe don't know how to answer as well. I couldn't really say whether there are any differences. That would be something that I would actually have to study. Um, I think there are certainly other editors that could answer this better for me than me because perhaps someone who's actually, so I just assisted on Outlander, but I think someone who edits it could give you a really good answer on that because I know that for Outlander they do an edit in the UK, and then as you said, it's sort of shipped over to the States, and then it goes into the fine cut. I think is the process, and then they could really see the sort of starkest differences between the cuts that they've made on the UK side and then how that changes for the US. Um, so I don't want to answer that question with any information that might sort of be false or just playing a guessing game.
And because there's like so much out there in terms of TV now that edit that like long running such as like Casualty and all that. They're long running and there's loads of new things because TV is like blossoming because of the multiple different streaming services. Do you have a dream program that you are wanting to edit for that you aspire to work on?
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, so much good stuff is out there just now. You're totally right. I would say my dream shows, I loved Sex Education. I loved Feel Good. I May Destroy You was so powerful. Yeah, I think these shows are all such a brilliant combination of drama and really sometimes very dark real life drama mixed in with comedy and lightheartedness. Yeah, I really love shows that find that sort of balance. Characters really finding themselves, having internal struggles, often with sort of sexuality or identity, um, and then sort of finding them, yeah, through sometimes like traumatic experiences or through other people, and just discovering themselves along the way, and also with sort of lighthearted moments mixed in because I think that's what life is like. It's can be really hard sometimes, and there's a lot of it takes such a long time to become self-aware and process I don't know things about yourself or things that have happened to you, and to do it in such a way which captures people and makes them cry and makes them laugh, and makes them feel just the most empathy for the main character, I think is just such a beautiful thing. And I think all of these shows have really nailed that on the head really, really well with sort of their various themes. So yeah, these three would probably be my top. There's probably more. I mean, there'll be loads more that I'm missing out, but these are the ones that come to my head right now.
And why do you reckon that because streaming such a big thing now with so many streaming services, even streaming services no one's ever heard of that exist for a certain purpose? I can't name one at the top of my head, but there is one that only does multi-language programs. that you can't find anywhere else.
Mm.
Do you think that streaming has helped the TV industry grow, as in giving more opportunities because there's more variety, or do you reckon that it's hindered it because it meant that there's not as much happening because it's all happening online, it's all happening at once?
I would say, I think this is really like a boom for television, streaming services. I think overall, it's sort of a net positive that there's so many shows being made, um, so many high quality shows as well. Like there's really, you look across your various streaming platforms and it just would take you years and years to get through all of the good stuff. There's always something to choose from. Even like now, it's sort of a meme that we are just going on Netflix or whatever and scrolling, and we can't decide on something because there's so much. Um, Saturation is sort of a problem too, I guess, or perhaps I should really say that because there's so much, and I think to use Netflix as an example, then it is easier to let things go as well. I know that there's been a few shows cancelled that people have really, really been sad about, and um, because it's just not, it becomes a numbers game, and if it doesn't make those numbers, then it's out, and it's sort of as harsh as that. And you wonder what shows would we have lost if that was the way before? Would we have had The Sopranos? Would we have had maybe Mad Men? I think could be another example of shows that are such a slow burn, and that maybe didn't have so much viewership in the beginning. I don't know, like Community, shows like that, which I think you have to dedicate a little bit of time to getting into, but then when you do it, it pays off, so incredibly well. Um, but the character development, it's slow, it needs time, it deserves to have that time. And maybe now it's a little bit too cutthroat for that kind of stuff. Shows are really just having like first two episodes with just everything happening, and it really like hits you over the head with all the action. And that can be really fun, but yeah, I wonder if it means that there's less of these sort of shows, such as the ones I said before, that maybe they just don't have as much of a chance now, because it's a bit too cutthroat. So yeah, overall, I guess my answer is positives and negatives to streaming platforms.
And you mentioned Community, and Community is one of those shows that did end up falling foul of the stream war because when it had Yahoo Stream or whatever, Yahoo did well. Yahoo, a company that no one likes other than Mario, because it's his catchphrase. Um,
Nice.
and I think a lot of like because there's too many streaming, it is a lot of saturation, and with streaming, it's like there's also like hidden shows that like Netflix don't like really bother about because it doesn't get like huge numbers, but in like all countries, like for instance, Dark that lasted for so long, and so many people saw it after it had finished, which helps really. But then if you it was on TV, it wouldn't have like lasted. I think so. I think that streaming has helped multi-language programs as well because it's like more people watching it because of other shows like Squid Game and Call My Agent and Dark are all these popular programs. And do you reckon that it's helped diversify what type of programs we watch, not just programs in certain languages, but like how we interact with other countries when watching TV?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely because people sort of they follow each other a lot now. Like if you see a show becoming popular, then your curiosity is naturally piqued and you say, okay, why is this show so popular? To take Squid Game as an example, like for me, I don't know if that would have been something that I would naturally lean to, but but Netflix pushed it so hard, and then everyone else was watching it and just saying, "This is amazing! It's unlike anything I've ever seen before." And yeah, then of course you're like, well, now I've got to go and check it out and see what everyone's on about. So yeah, I definitely think that it you watch like stuff that you wouldn't usually like to take Korean TV as another example. I just finished watching the first series of Physical 100. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it. I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so again, not something I would have watched usually. It's essentially sort of a competition between people of all types of athleticism, from sort of wrestling to like mountaineering, and it just pits them against each other in sort of a game show format to find like the person who has, I guess, the best
Yeah.
physicality. Not my style of program at all. But a lot of my friends were watching it and they said, "Oh, you have to watch this. It's really interesting." And so I did, and I got hooked. And that only would have happened um, from it sort of being on that platform and from other people saying like, "Oh, you should watch this," and it being a little bit pushed by the platform as well. So yeah, I like that part of it, that it does sort of push you to try other things a little bit than maybe just watching telly on a random Saturday night with your family would be. When I was watching telly with my family when I was younger, we watched all the same shows, every sort of week, more or less. And you weren't really pushed to sort of try other stuff. I think it was mostly just, yeah, I don't know, sitcoms and maybe the odd reality show every now and then. But yeah, it was more about yeah, how do I say that? Not tradition, but the sort of regularity of it and like comfortingness of it. And now you can really just try anything and try out all your different tastes. It's interesting, I have to say.
Yeah, and I have heard that I think Physical 100 is coming to the UK. ITV are cashing in on it, and the hosts that they're hoping to get Mark Wright and his brother. I don't know who his brother is, but Mark Wright, who hosted a children's show once. I don't know what he actually does for a career, but all I know is that Mark Wright's a very tall man called Mark. He's never wrong. He's always right. And yeah, and other like Korean shows wouldn't become as popular. Like, no one would have watched a program called Chicken Nugget unless Squid Game existed. And I think that's what's helped because like we're now ingesting Korean culture, and we know a lot more about it. And as a country, as a world, really, we know more about these other countries because we've seen programs that are from them and we've learned. And I think that's a good educational tool, not just entertainment. It's also educating on how other TV's written and what other fantastic career like jobs and other fantastic things there are out there. And it
Mhm.
really does help the TV industry because then you look at it from other angles. So like, say if someone's inspired by Dark, for instance, which is a confusing time travel program that just makes no sense until the very last episode, when you then understand what on earth's been happening for the last four series. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that makes sense. And if someone was inspired by that, that would then help develop a whole new genre because like reality competition TV as of like the last few years has got better because we've seen other countries like I think it was like the Netherlands that did the traitors before we did, and then once the UK did the traitors, it's helped grow a genre that was slowly dying, and now it's just given a new birth of life and opened a whole new world to the TV industry.
Mhm.
Mm. And so one of the things you've worked on that is amazing. What was it like working on Safe Home?
Oh, Save Home is, yeah, that's just something that always brings such a smile to my face because I think we're all so proud of how it turned out. Yeah, that was a really interesting experience. The director and writer Holly, she reached out to me with the script maybe a year before it started filming, um, because by the time she had sort of, I think, been able to get all the crew together and funds and everything, then it was the summer, but the whole film needed to be shot at night. So
Yeah,
shooting at summer was not a good option. And so then they had to wait until the winter to shoot it. If I remember correctly, it was a 2 or 3 day shoot. So 3 days, I think. So not that long, and it's sort of like a 10, 12 minute film. But yeah, she got a fantastic crew together. So she actually is an actress on River City, and so she knows a lot of people from there. Lots of people working in the industry, like brilliant, talented people, and basically just got, a crew together. Um, as with short films, the budget isn't huge, so it's a lot of people just, doing it
Yeah.
for the love of it and because they think that the idea is really, really good. And that was certainly the case for me. I read the script, and it resonated very personally for women. So the plot is about a woman trying to find her ways home safely, and it's sort of, I guess, this dystopian era which could very well be now, and there's an offer or sort of a new technology where a drone is assigned to you, and it can sort of follow you, above you, shine a little light down on you in order to get you home, and I guess scare off anyone who might try and sort of approach you or threaten you. And it's all about, is she going to sort of cave into using this, and are there gonna be any consequences to doing that? So yeah, as I was saying, it resonated because I think every woman has had instances in, their life of close calls when they're going home, being followed, being catcalled, and just a sort of general fear and need to sort of protect yourself. Um, and then, of course, after the Sarah Everard murder, a lot of women, it put fear into our hearts because they were betrayed by the very institution that was supposed to protect them. And, this didn't just happen with Sarah Everard, it's happened to other women as well. And so that really, yeah, it made a lot of people think and a lot of people question who exactly could they trust, and is something like this going to happen again? Um, what do we need to do, and do we even need to do anything, because the problem doesn't even lie with women. It lies with the police, it lies with perpetrators of any kinds of these violent acts. So yeah, it's really just to be part of something with such a powerful message was really important to me. And yeah, it felt good to really try and do something like that justice.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've had a lot of comments about the film just saying how tense and paranoid that people felt after watching it. And while that doesn't sound like a compliment, it really, really is. That's what we were going for. We want people to feel how scary it can be just trying to make a short journey home. And yeah, just to feel that sort of tension that Jen, the main character, feels in there too.
Yeah. And when you're working on short films, do you find that it's harder to edit them because obviously you film more than you need, and you've got to choose which is the best scene that fits with what you've been given as a brief? Do you reckon that it's harder to do that because you don't have a lot of time to try and tell the story, and you're trying to look at what you've been given as a brief to work from and what the storyline is? Do you find that it's harder to go, I need to put that in, and I need to, even though I like that bit, I need to take that bit out to help the story across?
Um, I actually think I've found it easier. I've not cut so many short films, but in my experience with them, there's just not much time at all to get all the footage that's needed. So I have to say that I had an easier time of it, I think, because yeah, when you just watch the footage through, you're like, okay, I definitely need this, I definitely want that. You're making little notes and stuff of the points that you really, really want to use. And yeah, due to time and budget constraints, they usually just can't film that much. So it's not that you have to watch, 6 or 10 takes of something, and try and remember what's going on in each and which one was the strongest and which one has the best continuity with the next take, so and so, with the next shot, I mean. So yeah, I would say it's easier. And I think with the two shorts I've cut, there wasn't that much time pressure either. Certainly with Safe Home, um, we were very generously given a space in a post house called Sirius in Glasgow. I think me and Holly had 6 days to work together, if I remember correctly. And yeah, because it's so short, you sort of can put together a rough cut quite quickly. And then, you get into the nitty gritty, the fun stuff. You get to sort of tweak bits here and there. And yeah, it very quickly shapes into the thing that you want it to be. So yeah, for 10 minutes, then 6 days of working together is a really good amount of time. Um, so yeah, no, every short film has been a really nice experience to sort of time wise and choice wise.
And do you think that when you watch these back, do you think you get not just with short films but with everything you do you get a sense of pride that you're really proud of what you did, or do you get a bit of dread because you're worried that something you're going to spot something that at the time you didn't notice and you finally then notice, go, oh
Yeah, that's a good question too, because there's no easy answer to that. It's definitely a mix. I think just being part of so many of the amazing projects that I've been a part of, then there's inherently a sense of pride, like that just goes along with that. Whether you watch it or not, you're happy to have been a part of it and to have worked with, usually just fantastic people. Um, yeah, watching something back can be hard too, especially something that you didn't have as much time for. Um, but it's important, I think, to watch your own stuff back because you can learn from that too, especially if there's a big gap in between when you cut it and when it actually comes out. Maybe you watch it, when it comes out again on TV or film, whatever, and you see it, 1 year on, you already are watching it from a slightly different lens. You've already grown a little bit or maybe learned something from projects in the interim. Um, and yeah, you think, maybe I would have done it this way now, or I wouldn't have held on that for so long, or I would have, the opposite. I would have let that shot breathe a bit more. So I think it's important to watch your own stuff and try and develop from it. As hard as that feels to do sometimes. Um, yeah, I think it's good for everyone. And like not only editors, but also, I don't know, directors, actors. I think everyone can benefit, but it can definitely feel difficult.
And as we come towards the end of this amazing, glorious interview, many selection words have not yet sold the dictionary to prove, or even a better thing to call were thesaurus. That no one uses them, but that's why you should eat them because no one uses them. So you just like eating. If you like eating paper, eat a thesaurus. No one uses them unless they're in high school. Um, is there any projects that you've worked on that are upcoming that you're allowed to talk about that you're excited for the general public to gaze their eyes at?
Well, so I've had quite a big work break at the moment. But the last thing that I was working on, so I'm living in Germany at the moment, but I also still go back to Scotland for work every now and then. And the last thing that I worked on in Scotland before I left was the second series of The Rig for Amazon. Um, can't say really anything about it, but I'm excited for it to come out when it does. Season one is already out, so everyone should have a watch of that and refresh themselves on the storyline. But I can say that it was a lot of fun working on the second season. Um, so I'm excited for that to come out. There is also something else I'm working on that's more of a passion project. All I can say about that is that it's a documentary, and I can't really say anything else about that, but I'm excited because I've not worked on very much documentary wise. It might still be a while before this comes out, but when it does, eventually, hopefully, I'm sure I'll plaster it all over my socials, so everyone will be able to see.
And when you went to work on the second series of The Rig, had you seen the first series before you worked on it, so that you sort of knew what was going on, or were you completely fresh? Were you like a fresh pair of eyes on it?
No, I'd watched the first season. and not even because I was going to work on the second one, just out of interest. I thought it looked really good. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And to be honest, I do think it's important to sort of equip yourself with that knowledge if you're going into the second season of something. Or I don't know if you're going into another block of River City, watch the last couple of episodes that went out. Because I think you're expected in your post to know what's happened before, what characters' relationships are, for example. Yeah, what history there is there, because I think I mentioned before, it does inform your cutting. So yeah, you definitely should inform yourself. It's really, really useful, and just gets yourself into sort of the headspace of the show, and you find out what the style of the show is. Yeah, everything that you need to know, really.
And when you watch it, then you'll probably have a better idea of when the beats are. So when there's certain bits in it, you know that when you hear that music, you know that because you've seen the first one, you know you might need to add that shot because that music might be slightly similar. It might have the same oomph in it to say, oh yeah, that's a really dramatic shot. That's the bit when you need to get Mark Boland and you need to usher him, push him on screen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because Mark Boland's amazing in anything he does. Um, including audio. He's an amazing. Well, he's very tall. He's probably smaller than Richard Osmond. Is all I'll say on the matter. Because no one's well, Greg Davis is taller than Richard Osmond, but they attack each other over all the time. And so as we plant ourselves on the flower, I don't know what this analogy is, but hey, on the flower bed toward the end of this Barry interview. Like, I'll never say again, but
Nice, nice. You're
uh,
doing well.
where can people track you down? Don't give away your home address, but online, where can people find you to see more of your amazing work?
So unfortunately, I am chronically online. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, yeah, what else? LinkedIn. I'm on all the film websites as well, Film Bang, and what else did I do for a while? I was on Mandy. I don't know if I'm on there anymore. Um, yeah, if you look, I'll be out there somewhere.
And so there we have it. Another wonderful interview, another excellent interview, um, another terrific. There you go. That's
Nice.
what I want to say with terrific, because that can mean two things. So you can take it with any pinch of salt you like. So another terrific interview. Thank you for letting me interview you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, this was so much fun, and I'm impressed. You've got a really good sort of show on your hands, and you seem really young, so you've done so much for your age already. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think I started interviewing people when I was 16. Uh,
Wow.
bear in mind
And
that
what age are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 19 and I'm 20,
Wow.
not next week. Well, I'm 20 next. I'm trying to work out dates. Next Saturday, I'm 20.
Oh, well, happy birthday in advance. And yeah, congratulations for putting in so much work before even 20 years old. It's, yeah,
Yeah.
respect.
Some people say I do too much, and some people say, "What on earth are you doing?" I say, "Yeah, I agree. What on earth am I doing?" And oh, there we have it. Now, to see more from me, you can. Well, I don't promote this enough, but I might as well whilst I'm at it. My website, tommason.uk, is correct. One word. Well, there's obviously a dot, but not dot. It's an actual full stop. So you can see more of my amazing nonsense, and there's more nonsense across all 21 of my YouTube channels. Um, if you keep an eye on Tom's Comedy Club, there will be a lot more nonsense. Probably regrettable nonsense, but I haven't yet filmed it yet, so who knows? It's a fun idea at the minute, but who knows whether or not that will be regrettable? Who knows? But anyway, guys, and remember, no, I forgot.